pleased to be joined by the voice of the Orange, Matt Park. Happy New Year, Matt. How are things?
Happy New Year, guys. How's it going?
We're doing okay.
It's basketball season.
It is.
It's
yeah.
frustrating
Coming
to
off
be a
another
talk
loss.
show host.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are right back in regular season form.
Yeah,
starting
we're-
the New Year off right.
Yeah, right back at it. I guess let's start with the Wake Forest game. It kind of went the way of so many of these others, right? It's a close game that, the little mistakes turn into big mistakes down the stretch, and they just can't quite close it out. I mean, what do you make of this latest loss to the Demon Deacons?
The biggest part for me is 16-2, and whatever it turned out to be 19-3. You just can't have that. You're spotting the other team 10, 12, 15-point leads, and if those were six, if you had just a bad start, let alone an atrocious start, you could overcome it. And they obviously did overcome it. They took the lead late and could have been in the driver's seat really in the second half and didn't see it through. So there's obviously a great deal of shortcomings on this team, especially because they're without their best player. So they just don't have a great margin for error and can't screw around with some of these things. The turnovers, chief among them right now, have been the biggest issue, and just kind of highlights or exacerbates, where they come up short.
What do you make of Chris Bell?
Well, I think you've known my feeling on him for quite a while. I feel for him. Now I'm coming all the way around to I feel for the guy. He obviously hard time getting on track. I think it's more mental than physical. I don't know what to do. Talking with Coach Starling leaving the Dome the other day after we were off the air. My background's in baseball, guys, and in baseball, you would say to a guy, look, you got the day off. Don't even show up until 6 o'clock for a 7 o'clock game. You're skipping batting practice. You're not going to pinch hit. You're a spectator tonight, and maybe for a whole series if a guy's really slumping. You can't do that in basketball. There are too few games. You need him. He's one of your better players. I don't know what it is. I would give him the license to miss, okay? We've talked about it before. Every great shooter you can think of in the history of the program, right up, Buddy Boeheim was probably the best, really was. Every single one of those guys, whoever your favorite one is, Jerry McNamara, James Sutherland, Andrew White, Trevor Cooney, whatever, that person Joe Girard had a 1 for 10 or 12 game. Well, Chris Bell, it's taken him a month to go for his 12 or 14 misses. Just get it out of your system. I'd rather see him go 1 for 14 on a night and then maybe be back to normal, but at least be pulling the trigger. What I think you're seeing now is these guys, they're running plays for him and they're not pulling the trigger, and that stuff to me is disconcerting. That's when it's kind of crossed the line beyond just the shots aren't falling or it's a little slump. I mean, the guy's got great form. In practice, he's a very good shooter. It just isn't working for him. We all know he's got terrible body language. I think that can have an effect that makes things worse than they really are. So he's in a tough spot. They're in a tough spot with him. He's really the next best scorer after JJ, and he's not a factor. So this team hasn't lost just its best player and best scorer. It's lost its second best. And then that puts a lot of pressure on these other guys, Donnie Freeman and Eddie Lampkin came through, for instance, in the Bucknell game, and it worked, but it's just not a way long-term to succeed.
Chris Bell played 9 minutes against Wake Forest. Elijah Moore played 6 minutes. You're not used to getting a combined 15 minutes out of two starters. And as a result, Lucas Taylor and Kyle Cuff both played a ton of minutes. While Adrian Autry is trying to figure out which combination works best, do you think that we might see a change in the starting line? Do you think Chris Bell, and I know you kind of alluded to it there, do you think they try to insert either Cuff or Taylor in the starting lineup to kind of jumpstart things?
No. Cuff's an energy guy off the bench. Taylor, I think I saw a quote, it might have been from Jordan, actually, where Taylor must have been asked and then claimed that he wasn't playing with any more adrenaline against Wake Forest than he does against other opponents. I'm calling BS on that. Stop. He made 3 shots and turned to the bench every time and got a technical once. I mean, he hasn't played like that every game, so stop with that. But I think he's showing that he's coming around and can be a useful player in this group. I don't think Chris Bell responds as an off-the-bench player. Elijah, I think, would be fine with it. He's a freshman, but he's learning what it takes to make that leap from being a very good high school player to playing at this level. So I don't think the lineup's really the issue. I don't think there's messages, any messages, all stuff that's already been said. I think what kind of gets lost in the fan consumption of the thing, people are talking about, Chance Westry or whatever. Do you understand the coaches see these guys 5 other days of the week? Right? All the messages, all the scouting, all the talking, all those things you're talking about, those things are happening. It's just they're not broadcast. So it's just not, this team is not responding fast enough to be winning games and fast enough for everybody's taste. So I don't see, they may change the lineup. I don't know that that's really the answer. I think that'd be just kind of window dressing. I think Red is trying to push buttons and do some things he's trying to get results. He's resorting to a lot of different things to kind of get something to happen because it obviously isn't working right now.
I'm going to ask you about one more individual player, Jair Davis. Are you surprised that he's seen his minutes kind of dip in the last 3 games?
Well, again, there's only 200 minutes to go around, so if you're going to play somebody more, someone else is going to play a little less. Davis wasn't effective 2 games in a row going into the Wake Forest game, didn't score a point in the 2 prior games, played 19 minutes, 7 points against Wake. With every one of those things, if he's going to play more, who's going to play less?
Right.
And sometimes it's dictated by foul trouble and different things where you go in there. Does Peter deserve to play at all? You want to bench him for Davis? Okay. Get Davis more minutes. I think they just want to go with somebody who's effective. I do think Davis, in the long run, is a guy who's been there, done that, is exceptionally experienced, and will find a way to put the ball in the basket because he has throughout his career. That's what you're seeing a little bit come to the fore here. Bell's the exception of somebody who's experienced, but at the moment is not playing up to his level. With Taylor, Cuff, and then I would throw Davis in there too. Those guys have all played a ton. So it's the reason that they've seen the fluctuations and the ups and downs and they trump Elijah Moore in a way because they are more, if you want to use the word trustworthy, or at least more seasoned to go into some of these situations, play on the road, whatever it might be. They are not quite as subject to the ups and downs in the same way that a freshman is. So I think that's one way to go about it. I think what Coach Autry is kind of saying is that, he used the expression, I'm going down with blank. He's going down with the guys that play hard. In a way, it's saying you're going to lose the game anyway. You want to lose going about it the way you want to do it with your people and people you believe in. And so that's kind of what has, I think, led more than anything to Kyle Cuff seeing the time that he's seeing. If you're going to go down, you're going to lose the game. You might as well do it playing all the way out.
What do you make of this Florida State team that they're going to see on Saturday?
Well, they've got another very good player, and I think it's interesting that I've been listening to the show throughout the day. You hear Jeff come on and talk about what's happening at Florida State, and of course they care so much about. They've already been through everything we're talking about right now. They've already been through with a disastrous football season, right? Fire everybody stinks. How'd this possibly happen? Florida State football's taken very seriously, and he was kind of funny talking about going through that in the fall and having his Dr. Phil cap on and all of that. But it's interesting to hear somebody from the outside be very complimentary by looking at Syracuse in the scouting report. And what do they have? Oh, they've got Jameer Watkins. What is he? He averages 20 points a game. He's among the leading scorers in the conference. Hello, that's what J.J. Starling is.
Right.
J.J. Starling is. They're different types of players, but I think we're completely underestimating, yes, this stinks. This team's not good enough. Overall, right now, they're not winning games that they probably could win without him. I think we're way underestimating the fact that the best player was lopped off and unavailable for a number of weeks here. So what they have is Jameer Watkins. They have a very good individual player. We all know about how the way Leonard Hamilton operates. He will play 10. That's a Freudian slip. He'll play 10 or 12 guys and rotate them in. Nobody plays 30 minutes at Florida State usually, and they come up and they guard you. You know, the Buddy Boeheims of the world had a defender on them at 75 feet, and that's what makes it difficult on the Chris Bells of the world and you know, the Florida State's not a great place to think I'm going to go down there and get right. You know, it's not necessarily an intimidating fan environment in the arena, but they tend to have long athletes and get up and guard you. And the games there historically have been really interesting, close games. And I would expect this one to be another.
All right, Matt. Great stuff as always. I know you've got the Adrian Autry show tonight. Have a great broadcast there, and we look forward to chatting with you again next week.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All right, Voice of the Orange, Matt Park. And with that, we'll hit our final timeout. We'll wrap things up next on ESPN Radio.